And now we're going to take on Gangplank. For real this time. Maybe. We'll see. Okay. We have our intro power. Hopefully we can get the same thing, but of course we don't. So we're going to reroll. These are all okay. They're not the best. We can go for hold them off and get frostbite. And we can try to reroll to get Ashe as a support champion then. If we don't get her, that's okay though. Leona does have some good other options. Like Jin, Yasuo, that kind of thing. We'll be replacing just about everything in our hand except for one Leona. And we don't have anything to do turn 1. We'll drop down the Shield Bearer just to give us a unit. And to activate a Daybreak, which will bring us closer to leveling up Leona. And this time we'll do it again. And we'll be attacking with both of our units here. I'm sure they'll trade. Yep, they trade units with us. And we get some damage off on their Nexus. Here they drop down a card. We'll drop down our Leona. And that's their third Daybreak. It's also their attack turn, so they're almost forced to pass, which they did. Okay, and now we're going to use the Solari Sunhawk. No. We'll use Zenith Blade on Leona. And that levels Leona up.
I am the bulwark against darkness.
Hey everyone.
And now we'll use the Blinded Mystic. We'll buff Leona and get rid of the Elusive. And we'll be attacking with all 3 units. We do hit them for 3 there. I could have hit them for more if I used Leona to challenge the Powder Keg. So in a way, I kind of stalled. But I don't think it's that impactful. So I guess we'll just drop down Ayula and we'll buff one of our other units. And we'll do the same thing again, and this time buff a different one.
Will you tell me a pilot? After this is done, you have my promise.
They drop down a couple units and use Ye Been Warned to get vulnerable. Yeah, no, that's not my thing, you know. I mean that keg sure is ferocious. Unfortunately, the AI doesn't really teach me much. I don't have a darkness in hand that I can use against that keg. So, it happens. Alright, we'll go for the Sunforger here. Although I haven't seen this card before. That could be useful in some ways. But we're still going to go with what I said. And now we have the support champion. We could go for Diana again. If we wanted to. I don't want to. Tosafe is pretty good too. But he's a little on the weak side. It's the only issue with him. But he is good at controlling the board, especially whenever you have to deal with Monkey Idol or Powder Kegs. But we're going to try to reroll once again. We do have Hecarim with Challenger, but that's not exactly the greatest thing either. We could go for Lee Sin here, I suppose. We'll go up against the Jagged Butcher once again. And we will be... Well, this is actually a pretty nice hand, in my opinion. Good utility cards. But we'll be replacing most of them in the hope of being able to do something on the first couple turns.
Nothing but the stink of blood and sweat.
Unfortunately, we're forced to take 3 damage here. So I'm learning that hold them off kind of sucks. At least for Leona.
Take me for a spin. Ha ha.
I feel like I kind of knew that though, but it's whatever. We'll be using Zenith Blade on our Sunhawk. If they attack with the Slot Bot, we'll be blocking it. They decided not to though. And here we'll drop down our Leona.
The dawn has arrived. Glorious light rains down.
Ye started without me.
Well, I was going to attack, but kind of wasn't expecting all the plunder effects to go off. And for them to drop more units on that. Okay, there's nothing I can do about Hogtelp here. But we'll drop down Leona.
The power of the immortal sun. Behold the divine power of the sun.
So now if we're able to destroy the unit, we'll have 2 leveled up Leonas.
Behold the sun's holy light.
Didn't know the boss had sent for
Unfortunately for us,
Know much, do ya?
the dead. Don't
Leona's stun didn't stun the Drowned Marauder. Which technically does the most damage to us here.
Face my shield.
But it is what it is. The reason for it is because the slot bot had more power. And or the same power, and it was just favorited, I suppose. Or preferred. We'll drop down to Ravon.
daylight everlasting.
And we have a good plan here.
Thunder revealed.
Okay, we lose our Sunhawk, and that's okay. We'll drop down our Solari Soldier.
Faithful and sear the heretics.
And we stun another one of their units. Yeah, I always thought it would... Like, if they had the same power and stuff like that, I think it just goes from left to right, but I could be wrong. Like, that's all I would assume.
Unwavering strength.
Anyways, we're going to attack with all of our units here, and we're going to get our old Leona back.
No. Sunward.
So now we have the double Leona experience. So now, anytime we use Sunbreak, we stun quite a few people. In all fairness, it's not as good as it was last round, if you guys remember. With slow but steady, but... I like it. It's okay. We'll drop down the Stellacorn. By doing what we just did and taking down the unit that captured our previous Leona, we're kind of using their cards against them. And that was a really good frostbite that just took place on the slot bot. It lost all 9 of its power. And we are going to attack with all of our units here. They give us the victory, but we did take a lot of damage trying to beat the Jagged Butcher this time around.
Our deeds will be written in the heavens.
Taking as much damage as we did is certainly not preferred. So we have a bit of a choice here. We can go for Oracle Lens and predict on Morning Light. But I do need more Solari soldiers so that we don't run into that same issue all over again. I don't need any rerolls, so I'm not going to go for the slot bot down here. And I'm going to go for the champion item chest. And we'll go for a cheaper Leona. Why not? And once again, we're going to go into the monkey idol. It is a dangerous mission, especially whenever we have only, 13 or 14 health? But I think it's easier than dealing with the Legion Marauders. And we got lucky enough to start with the attack token this turn. So we'll drop down the Solari Soldier. And we'll also attack with it. Since it has Fearsome, it can't be blocked by the Powder Monkeys. Yeah, I just have to beat it before it beats me, and then have to deal with Swain. It's not easy by any means. We either take 3 damage here, or we take 1. We'll drop down our Shield Bearer.
My faith protects me.
That just gives us a unit for next turn. And it has more attack than the Sunhawk. So we'll drop down the Sunhawk here, which will stun the monkey. We don't have Overwhelm on any of our units, so there's no point in us challenging the Powder Keg. But we will be attacking with both of our units here, and doing our best to win this as fast as we can, since we are kind of on a timer.
Welcome.
We are kind of screwed here. We'll drop down Scales of the Dragon. We needed another unit to block this, and to at least try to block. And we'll be using Dragon's Protection on Scales of the Dragon as well.
Come on, give it a try.
Lucky for us, they didn't attack effectively. But we still take damage from that, of course. This is cutting it pretty close, too. We'll drop down Leona here.
First light illuminates the land. To shine like the sun, you must burn like it.
Her stun's kind of silly. Don't get me wrong, but her having Overwhelm's better than me playing Lee Sin.
Splendor revealed.
And she has more stats. Oh, that's not fun. We'll be using Sonic Wave on our Scales of the Dragon then, to be able to free Leona this turn.
I've been waiting for this.
And we are kind of forced to challenge here.
Be nothing left when I'm done.
This is getting pretty risky. There's a chance I lose this.
This is a real spin to win.
We'll drop down Scales of the Dragon once again.
Take a stance and hold it.
And we'll use Dragon's Protection on it as well.
You're under our protection.
Here we'll drop down Leona's Morning Light. The worst thing that could happen right now is they use a spell to trigger Powder Keg. And so I need to make sure my units are healthy enough to be able to withstand that. Because what I'll typically see is them using like Parley, stuff like that for it. We'll be attacking with all of our units, but first we want to give Overwhelm to another one of the Scales of the Dragons.
A shield for allies, a sword for enemies.
And we'll attack now.
Feel the sun's glory.
I'm not going to challenge the Keg just in case they use a spell. Although,
Deeds will be written in the heavens.
you can challenge things that are vulnerable and stuff like that. And it works if you have Overwhelm. It's just... I don't know, I guess it wouldn't have mattered either way. I was just making sure I had enough damage. We'll go for Scales of the Dragon with Fury. It's kind of funny. Scales of the Dragon is now a dragon. Anyways, they're not being as nice to me this time around with powers, and our options in stores and stuff like that aren't as good. Mind Meld's interesting though. That's not that bad, but we don't have that much health to spare. And we do have to buy healing next turn anyways. Or sorry, at this node, so being a little conservative with health is okay. Yeah, I know.
Show them their place.
Alright, now we're going to take on Swain. We don't need Mind Meld immediately, or Sunburst, or the Blinded Mystic. Although the Blinded Mystic would be nice to keep around for utility. And they do start with the attack token, so dropping down the Slaughter Soldier turn 1's not always the best choice here.
Orders.
But it is to block.
Bless the faithful and sear the heretics.
We don't have any other units to play or any spells, so we're just going to attack. They weren't able to block anyways because our soldier does have Fearsome. It is their attack turn once again. They drop down the Iron Ballista, and we'll drop down our Leona, which will stun the Ballista.
Sunlight blinds.
It's great for us to do this too because it does have Overwhelm, which only triggers on their attack turns. Here we'll drop down another Solari Soldier,
Raise your weapon, Sunwood.
War Mason.
followed
For duty.
by Iola after they're done with their skill effect. And we'll give Spell Shield and Overwhelm to our Leona.
What else can I fight for but life?
And what we can also do is do Challenger, but I don't think I need to here.
Battle.
We're going to attack with all 4 of our units. They only block with one of them, and so we do quite a bit of damage to their Nexus, thankfully. And we'll end the round there.
By my hand will Noxus rise.
They do drop down Swain.
Grand General.
We have a couple options here. I think my best option is to drop down the Sunhawk to stun Swain. We've been
I am the
really nullifying
darkness.
their attack turns, which is fantastic for us. the utility provided from stuns and stuff like that just help us tremendously here. And we'll drop down Iola once again, and this time we'll give the Spell Shield and Overwhelm to our Hawk. And we'll end the round there, keeping our 2 spell mana. Here we'll drop down Morning Light because it's more effective now. Unfortunately, we don't have Slow But Steady this time. But we do trigger quite a few stuns here. And they don't have any options to block our 2 Solari soldiers. Yeah, they kind of are. Leona plays a lot like Yasuo does in a way. I just think her deck's better. Whenever I play Yasuo, I feel like I have the same experience as I do whenever I play Kayn. Where it's just like Bubbles' experiences, you just never get Kayn. Alright, so we'll go for Leona that has Pickaxe here. And we'll go into a power. None of these are fantastic. I guess we'll go for Sticky Fingers here. And we'll try to go up. I do want to try to go up against the Trifarian Glory Seeker again, but I don't fully need the spell chest that much since we don't have Slow But Steady. So I'll go against the Petty Officer. It's the easier node. I guess being safe here is better, but we won't get as good of rewards from, the next node. This is a fantastic hand, though. I'll tell you that much. And we'll drop down our Solari Soldier on our attack turn. Having a 3/3 with Fearsome's pretty nice. And we'll attack with it too. We get one of their strongest cards from our nab. And we'll drop down our other Solari Soldier. And they end the round there. Here we'll use Zenith Blade on one of our soldiers. And we'll go into an attack too. This is kind of risky, but it is what it is. We did get some damage off on their Nexus, fortunately. And we'll end the round there. Since we do have a healing node after this, we can afford to take some damage. And here we'll drop down our Leona. And dropping her down levels her up as well. Okay, they destroy their powder keg. Only to summon more powder kegs. I wonder if they're going to destroy it again with the Fortune Croaker. Alright. And they decided to attack. We'll block their high damage. And we'll take them out as well. And we'll pass, because there's nothing else for us to do. Yeah, it's like that sometimes, you know. We'll drop down the Sun Forger, which will give us lifesteal. And we'll use Sonic Wave, and we'll give the Forger Challenger And we'll give it additional attack too, which will let us heal our Nexus more. It doesn't have Overwhelm though, so I'm just going to use it to destroy their strongest unit. Leona does have Overwhelm, so I'll be using it to destroy their Powder Keg this time around, since they do have a Knock 'em Down in hand. As a part of their power, all hands on deck. They do have a lot of weaker cards, which is kind of whatever. We'll drop down Jack the Winner.
My boat, my rules.
They use some Powder Kegs here, it's okay. We'll drop down our Dreadway Deckhand. Okay, they use Knock 'em Down to destroy our keg. For 3 damage. Rather than taking out, the Solari Soldier. Or the Dreadway Deckhand. They're making some fascinating choices today, I'll tell you that much.
What's your wager?
We'll block accordingly and take all of their units with us, just about. True. Maybe the bot's trying to show its dominance.
Lock the doors.
The AI is unhinged. We'll drop down Leona's Morning Light.
Sunlight blinds.
And we'll stun the Frostbitten unit twice. To give the bot the dominance back. Or to show...
Be nothing left.
For us to show the bot our dominance. I don't know. Something like that. We're doing it for fun. We are going to...
Follow the horizon.
beat the hell out of them. And we should win this too.
Run while you can.
Yep. Which then takes us to our rewards.
All Invictus.
And then to a healing node. Which I think is still kind of necessary. I wasn't sure where our health ended. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's barely necessary. We'll go for a Solari Soldier that's elusive. And we got the healing node. We will heal 1 health. As it's very important to do. Because we can't leave it. For whatever reason. We see a Solari Priestess. That's good. And Targon Brace on the Sunforger. That's also good. And Spellslinger. I like Spellslinger here. Personally. And we will get both of these cards, actually. We'll get a copy of the Sunforger, which will give us the Targon Brace on all the copies. And we'll buy 2 of the Solari Priestesses, since she's not a bad card to have. We don't need another shop. Both of these nodes are kind of hard, I feel, at least to some extent. We'll go up against the Crimson Disciple. The key to beating the Crimson Disciple is to use stronger units rather than weaker ones. I'll get rid of Sonic Wave and Scales of the Dragon. And I'll keep Ravon and Leona. We'll pass. It's now their attack turn. Hopefully we can draw our 2 cost.
By all means, get in my way.
But we weren't able to.
I'm out of their league.
And they do smack us for 5. We'll drop down our Leona here.
First light illuminates the land.
That gives us something strong to attack with.
Sun's holy light.
I found my family, my bloodkin.
And here we'll use Sonic Wave on Leona.
Feel the
We'll attack with Leona. And we might as well use Resonating Strike because it's free. And this way we'll get rid of their Crimson Curator. And we'll end the round there. Since our Leona does have tough, their power, red as her lips, is kind of useless. Here we'll drop down the Solari Priestess. For real this time. And we'll pick Meteor Shower.
Daylight warms the heart and lights the way. Back, heretic.
I don't know how much gold we have, but we might just buy the healing node at this point. We'll drop down Ravon.
Our strength is forever at its zenith.
Blessed daylight surrounds you.
And I guess we'll use Heavens Aligned, and we'll see what Nightfall card we can get. Actually, I'm wrong. It would be Daybreak. Because we dropped down Ravon. Or it'll be both. Okay. I'll attack with all 3 units. I am expected to lose... Ah, okay. Yeah, I noticed that. It gave me a Stygian Onlooker.
Have faith.
Everlasting.
We'll hold on to Mind Meld. We won't use it just yet.
The young fight for glory. I fought for legacy.
We have a lot of spells in hand. Or drop down Lee Sin, I suppose.
Force is meaningless without skill.
And now we'll drop down the Stygian Onlooker. And we'll end the round there.
Learn from man.
We'll drop down the Eye of Raharok, which will activate Leona's spell. Leona's skill, not spell. Yeah, I know. It was kind of bad for me to play it like that.
I served for decades, and you
I did
will
waste
do
it.
now.
And we'll attack with both of our... No, we'll just attack with Leona if we do attack. We'll use Meteor Shower here. And try to get some damage off at least.
War teaches us all. For the hand.
They just replace it too. That figures.
Answer to me.
We're still only going to attack with Leona. If we attack with Lee Sin, he'll just be defeated.
Twice your size.
Okay. So they end up using their power in a really interesting way. And they are able to defeat our Leona with that too. This is kind of a tricky node to go up against.
Are a lesson.
The 3 are unrivaled.
Alright, so... There's a couple ways of doing this, I think. We'll drop down Ravon.
Daylight everlasting.
And we'll use Blood for Blood on it. Which will let us have another. And here we'll drop down the Reckless Trifarian.
Nothing can stop me.
And we'll end the round there.
War teaches us all.
Here we'll drop down Ravon.
May our light shine forever.
Oh, great.
Learn from man.
And I will drop down the Sunhawk. All of their units are now stunned. And we have just enough damage, I think. So we'll drop down the soldier just to make sure we're okay.
My lands need
And we'll attack for all, and we'll finish it here. They are unable to block with all 3 of their cards because they're stunned. And we end with -4 to their Nexus.
I thank you, dragon.
Okay. And we are definitely going to go for a mana deposit on Scales of the Dragon. And we're going to go into the item chest. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get another Scales of the Dragon item. But that's okay. We'll go for the Solari Priestess that has Farsight Alteration. And we'll go into the healer node. And we just have enough to buy all of our health back. And now we're going to go up against Gangplank for the second time today. In the same stream? Nope. Technically not because of our technical difficulties earlier. Alright. I'm cool with this hand. It's looking pretty good. We can attack our first turn, though. That's the only thing. They drop down another unit. We'll drop down our Sunhawk to counter the Dreadway, which stops them from attacking. We'll now drop down... We actually have a difficult choice here. We'll drop down Leona, I suppose. That lets us stun. They do use Make It Rain, though, which is going to hit us for quite a bit.
Behold the sun's holy light.
But that took up all their mana, and we're able to hit them for 5.
Suppose you want in on this.
Just kidding. Since they dropped down the Jagged Butcher, if I was to attack with Leona, I would only lose her.
I'll buy us some time.
I can block with her, though. I can block the Dreadway deckhand here. And unfortunately eat the damage. Since it is our defensive turn, there's no point on us using Sunforge just yet. However, what I can do is drop down Scales of the Dragon. I'll be dropping down both of them this turn. And I'll also drop down Iola. And I'll give Spell Shield and Overwhelm to Leona. And then I'll use Dragon's Protection on her too. And this will buff her health. Here's kind of... like, we have a lot of choices here. There are a lot of good choices here, in fact. And I don't know what to really go with. I guess I'll go with Ravon and get an extra unit out there. They can drop down Gangplank. And they do. We can try to go for the attack here. And we do have Overwhelm. This is a really risky attack, though. Because this is basically us just ignoring Gangplank's passive. If they were to, let us hit them for as much as we would have. Either way, it's still a really high-risk attack. We'll be using Parley and taking out Gangplank, hopefully. Utilizing the Parley that we nabbed from them. With Sticky Fingers.
I'll make corpses of them all.
Alright, here we'll be using Sunburst and taking out Gangplank once again. Which levels up Leona. And we'll also drop down the Solari Soldier, which gives us an extra unit for next turn. And it also stuns another potential attacker, which is the Black Market Merchant. We'll drop down the Sunforge.
The strength of the sun and my faith are one.
And we'll drop down the Solari Soldier. They do have 7 mana, and they're not doing anything. This is kind of concerning. I don't know what they have planned. Ah, okay. Well, that makes sense.
The sun's splendor revealed.
I've whipped up something special.
Alright, so it's not daybreak all the time.
Stand and fight.
So,
Wavering strength.
that is quite unfortunate for us. We're going to commit to this attack. It'll heal us a nice amount. And it doesn't drop Gangplank below 15 health, so he doesn't get the Dreadway. And he's only down to 1 card. But he, of course, draws 1.
Yeah, you don't want to cross me.
Here, we'll drop down the Solari Priestess. We'll pick the
Daylight warms the heart and
that
lights
one.
the way. Bask in the light's radiance.
And we stun one of their units here.
Arm yourselves with holy sunlight.
We'll drop down the Blinded Mystic. We'll buff our Leona. And we will silence the Sunforge. And win the round there. We'll drop down Leona's Morning Light. They do have a warding shot that could hit us for 4 right now. So that's something for us to watch out for.
Behold the sun's holy light.
We are able to utilize Leona's skill to stun a couple of the units. And of course they use Warning Shot. Here we can drop down Scales of the Dragon.
Through trial.
We have to make sure this turn counts. We have almost everything stunned. There are 2 things that can block. We have quite a lot of mana here to work with too. What we can do is use Dragon's Protection.
You're under
Heal that.
protection.
And now we'll drop down Mind Meld. And that buffs a couple of our units. And now we're going to attack.
Fire beware.
And that's going to end it there for Gangplank.
Bright light.
And speaking of it, ending it there, I think this is where we're going to stop for today. Thank you all for watching. This is Bruce from Kraken Gypsies. Thank you so much for interacting with us. Thank you so much for watching and viewing. And feel free to follow us on Twitch if you haven't already. And check us out on YouTube. We go by the same name, except it has a space between Kraken and Gypsies. Alright. Thank you guys very much once again. And stay Kraken!